All right, so let's start the process of graphing this square root function. All right, to graph it, we have to find ordered pairs for now. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a quick table, x's and y's, and we can pick any x's we want to. All right, but what I want to do is I want to look here. I want to look at my radicand and figure out what could my domain be? What's my domain? That's why we learned it. That's a great starting spot because that'll be either the smallest or the greatest part of your domain. All right, so off to the side, I'm going to take my radicand, x plus 2, and I'm going to find the domain. I want to make that greater than or equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 2. So my domain has to be greater than or equal to negative 2, which means that's going to be my first number for my inputs. All right, I'm going to plug that in. All right, when I plug negative 2 in for my radicand, in for the x, all right, if I do y equals the square root of negative 2 plus 2, I get y equals the square root of 0, which y equals 0. So when x is negative 2, y is 0. All right. Now, the next number I want, this is where it gets a little bit backwards. I know I'm going to want to plug numbers in here, but I want to plug x values in that will give me a perfect square. All right, for example, if I were to plug 0 in for x, all right, if I were to plug 0 in for x, I would get 0 plus 2, and I would have to do the square root of 2. The square root of 2 is not a perfect square. It's like 1.414. It goes on. It's ugly. So I'm not just going to pick any old numbers. I need these numbers over here to be whole, all right, to be integers. Since my domain is greater than or equal to negative 2, I know I want numbers bigger than negative 2, all right? So what I'm trying to get at here is I want my output to be 1. I want this to be 1, all right? So what that means, what number would I plug in for x in order to get it to be the square root of 1? Meaning, what can I add to 2 to get to 1? And the answer is negative 1. All right? Meaning, if I do y equals the square root of negative 1 plus 2, y equals the square root of negative 1 plus 2 is 1, and y equals 1. All right? Now, what's the next perfect square? All right, that's what this is turning into. I didn't want to say it in the beginning, but my y values, these are all going to be my perfect squares. All right. Well, not the perfect squares. They're going to be the square roots, I should say. We need the radicands to equal the perfect squares. All right. So my next number I'm going to want to try to get to is 2. What do I plug in here in order to get this to be the square root of what to give me 2? That really wasn't a clear explanation. I apologize. Let me try to explain using, let me kind of break this up. If y equals something plus 2, all right, I know it's an x, but what value would go here in order to make it equal to 2? What equals the square root of what equals 2? Well, the square root of 4 equals 2, all right? So what do I have to plug in for my x? If I plug x to be 2 and plug it in, make my 2 differently, I know, I get the square root of 2 plus 2, the square root of 4 is 2. All right. So see, my x values, I'm not just picking every consecutive number. It doesn't work like that with square root functions. All right. I have to kind of work with my perfect squares. So now, what the square root of what gives me 3? Well, 9. So I want the next one now to be 9 equals the square root of what plus 2? Well, now I can kind of easily see, I'm sorry, not 9, 3. I want this value to be 9. So I'm going to plug in the number 7 here. All right. We'll do one more. I want my next value to be 4. This will be my last one. 4 equals the square root. Well, I know what has to be in here has to be 16. All right. I'm adding 2 to it. So what plus 2? It would have to be 14. All right. And now I have my table, my points that I can plot, which I'll do in the next video.